Alright, guys, this is the regular season finale matchup of Week 18 in the NFL. There's a lot of, interesting storylines this week. A few teams with a win and in scenario. A few teams need some of their games to lose. And let's go break down these matchups, starting with the 1 o'clock game between New England and Buffalo. And thank you to all the doctors and medical facilities that have been helping Lamar Hamlin with his uh, body and is able to breathe again, is able to be here. Thank you. He's on the other side of the ground with us, not below it. So congrats to him, congrats to his family, congrats to his mom, to stay on the center line. And this game could be a trap game for New England because they're heading into a Lions den of positive hostility just because this is going to be Buffalo's first game, first probably real football game since that incident of like, can they move on? Can they hold together? Can they hold serve? And Buffalo's going to be playing a lot of harder emotion that day. But New England could, use that to their advantage because Buffalo's going to be playing hard first. But this is why. Miami and the Jets. Miami is playing more for something than the Jets, obviously. Since Miami needs New England to lose just to get back a bit after collapsing from starting 8-3. Like the Davis doesn't want to be on that list of having above 500 record and missing the playoffs. That would ultimately be a sign of bad for a first year head coach. But the Jets could place Moreland here. I don't know if they feel like it because they're not playing for anything. But if Robert Saleh ever wanted to get one last look at Zach Wilson or whatever he has left, it's the perfect game. You're not playing for anything, and Miami's playing for something. Now, originally, the week does start Saturday, which is tomorrow. It does start Saturday at 4:30 with Kansas City and Las Vegas. So if you haven't heard of the scenarios, KC holds the 1 seed, and the AFC Championship game will be at a neutral site. So it will be very odd of a request of how this is going to work. If KC wins, if Buffalo wins, all this wins, this, that. It's all kind of weird. So how you ever want to perceive and break it down, I guess the orders agreed to have the championship on a neutral site, which is fair because the Buffalo-Cincinnati game could have decided that, but of course health comes first. The bar indeed that game should never be played. So now KC could lose. I expect them to win, but anything happens on Vegas. I asked the Lions last week. They nearly almost lost a close one against the Raiders. Tennessee. What has happened to you? From leading the South to an embarrassing fall. I mean, this is a collapse of great. I mean, I've heard of the king fell, but you're making Derrick Henry fall over. Jacksonville is going to be a raucous place, and I'm still sorry for Josh Dobbs because he's trying to save a situation. But Jacksonville is on a hot streak as of right now. He didn't even need to throw a touchdown last week against the Texans. That's how good Jacksonville is playing. So, 8 o'clock on a Saturday night in Duval, that crowd is going to be rocking. And I kind of expect a close game because these are the division rivals. But it wouldn't shock me if Jacksonville blows them out the waters. Now, Pittsburgh, obviously, there's another one. Same thing with the Jets in Miami. Cleveland's out of it. Pittsburgh's still in it. But this is huge because Kenny Pickett has proven back-to-back weeks under pressure he as cool as they come. And this is another week, another division rival he gets to go against. But this all depends also what time this game finishes because see, these 3 games right here kind of decide the fate. Because if Miami loses, and New England loses and these guys win, Pittsburgh's in. Okay? Pittsburgh is in. That's why I have all these 3 games kind of crunched up. Right here. Because these 3 games all start at 1 o'clock. However, depending on the situation, and I'm pretty sure someone's going to be a Mike Tomlin there because he's not going to pull a Ron Rivera of last week. Someone's going to be in his there, whether they're, whether New England's leading by a lot, whether Miami's leading by a lot. I'm not saying you want to lose and end the streak because there's been a big, he's in a impeccable culture to stay above 500. But, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, so it is what it is. Tampa and Atlanta not much. I don't expect Tampa to kind of not do anything. Yeah, nothing much here. Talk about. I expect Atlanta to win against the Bucks. Just kind of dress rehearsal for the playoffs. Cincinnati and Baltimore is weird because Cincinnati is also involved in that situation with Buffalo, KC, because even though they have been rewarded the AFC North Division title, they can lose. So they might be probably the only division winner that has to play an opening wild card game on the road. So I'm pretty sure Cincy's probably playing for something here, considering I don't think he's going to get swept by a division rival. So Cincy could come out here, but Cincy could also come out flat because those players didn't witness that on their field. So Cincy could go through a little bit of a quote-unquote scare hangover, but I expect Cincy to win since Baltimore has shown abysmal offense recently. The Colts and the Texans offer weirdness here because Jeff Saturday has a chance to help. The Colts would probably hurt the Texans. If Jeff Saturday beats the Texans are probably a lock for the #1 pick. But if the Texans win, then they are out of it. So I don't know how this draft works. I could be wrong. But I think Jeff Saturday should let them win. Because then I'm not saying he's going to be the head coach of the future. But if he is, I'll let them win. No, you don't have to deal with Barcia coming into next year's draft. Minnesota, Chicago. Are Minnesota still playing for something? But the best they can play for is the 2 seed. Because they had an abysmal choke job in Green Bay last week. So for Minnesota, can they get off? I expect them to rebound against a lifeless Chicago team. But I don't know. It's a division rival. It's in Chicago. We know Chicago plays spoiler here. So I expect Minnesota to win, but anything's how to give them something. Chargers and Broncos, nothing much here. Probably Russ is going to have probably a good game going into next year. The Chargers really don't have to play anybody because they're probably a lot, unless they want to play for that 5th seed. Because someone's going to be in the air. Hey, we can play for the 5th seed and not have to play for the 6th seed. So I don't know what could happen here. So we'll see how that breaks down. Maybe the Chargers move off the seed. Maybe they stay on. Maybe they still play for something. Now, this is where it gets to the good and gritty of the 425 games. Seattle, and the NFL did this on purpose. Seattle's taken out of it because Green Bay and Detroit play at 8:20. So if Seattle wins, Detroit doesn't really have to play for anything. But if Seattle loses to the Rams, this opens the door for a great Sunday night matchup. But, well, I'm going to let you foreshadow that. Because no one really cares about this matchup here. No offense to the Saints and the thing outside of those 2 fan bases. They're both out of the playoffs. That's why I have them all the way in the corner. But his first 425 matchup is interesting because Geno Smith has to win at least to put the pressure on Green Bay. Because now, if they lose, this is a pressure-packed game. It's still a pressure game because all they have to do is win it in. It's easier said than done. But Seattle is kind of the first because it kind of takes Detroit out of anything. But Detroit knows if they're not going to miss the playoffs, then that doesn't mean Green Bay can't miss the playoffs. Then you get to the middle of the 425. Philadelphia, New York, Cowboys and the Commanders, and the Cardinals at San Francisco. So Philadelphia is gonna have to play Jalen Hurts no matter what this week. Now, if they played them last week against New Orleans, we wouldn't be in this situation. But they tried to ride victory to the victory lane thing. For the Giants, there's no seeding incentive. So I expect the Giants to not play everybody, mostly Saquon. I expect him not to be part of this. But I'm not saying the Giants can't play spoiler here. Because if the Giants do upset, I'm not even calling because they're 2 touchdowns underdogs. But if they upset the Philadelphia Eagles, it opens a door of madness in the 420 slide window. Because then we go to Dallas and Washington. If the Cowboys beat the Commanders in Washington, they become NFC Eastern champions. So now Dallas is the second seed in the NFC. Philly will drop to fifth. That means more than likely they will travel to Tampa. And the way Tampa's getting red hot, I'll say that was the best performance that Brady had last week against Carolina, who only played man defense for some unforeseeable reason. But if Dallas wins, Philly loses, then this opens another door for San Francisco. Because all you have to do is beat the lifeless David Blau-led Cardinals. Easier said than done, especially with Brock, who's been basically balling till last week, but he had to bring him back with a 10-point deficit. They got it done. But this opens the party. That's why all these mini helmets on the 425 sides kind of around each other. Because this kind of begins in Seattle, but it enters a whole new world if the Eagles lose. Now for the Sunday night matchup between Green Bay and Detroit, it has incentive. Because all Green Bay got to do, whether you're in, even if Detroit knows they got a shot or not going in, Detroit's going to play hard. So this game is going to decide, is Aaron back or not? Because I think what Detroit is going to do, as I heard from other analysts across the networks, from Stephen A. to Shannon to Detroit to Eric Mangini to Chris Broussard, they're going to sell out to stop Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. They're going to have to make Aaron Rodgers be an MVP for them on Sunday Night Football. Because Detroit's going to say, you think that work is going to take you to the playoffs? No, you're going to have to beat us on there. So this is going to be an interesting game on Sunday night. And there you have it. That's the Week 18 matchups for 2022, the regular season finale. Thank you and good night.